Hello, my sexies. Welcome to today's podcast. I have two special guests on from the Double Teamed podcast, Cami and Niki. Yes.
Oh, wait, should we say who's who?
Yes, please do. And then if you guys want to say, how do people tell you guys apart?
Okay, well, I'm Cami.
And I'm Niki.
I have, if you're watching on video, I have my beauty mark on my right side of my face. And then Niki has hers on her left.
Yeah.
But that's really the only way, I guess.
That's the main way.
Yeah.
Yes. That is something I figured out. We talked about it recently, and I was like, oh, I think I remember now.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. So Double Team Podcast, for people who don't know, is about sexuality, play parties, kink, non-monogamy, and anything else you'd like to share?
Mainly about our lives.
That's our sex lives in a nutshell, which encompasses all of those things.
Yes.
But yeah, we've been doing the pod now for
Almost 3 years.
almost 3 years, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
It literally just started out from like Cami and I were talking about like our hookups, and a guy that I was hooking up with at the time was right next to us, and he was like, oh, you guys should start a podcast about this. And we were like, okay, maybe, I don't know. And then we went out to drinks with one of Cami's exes and his friend, and we were telling him what that other guy had said, and his friend was like, absolutely, you should start a podcast. So he hooked us up with his friend who's an audio editor. He gave us the name, everything, and it just kind of started from there.
Wow. Okay, what is some of the biggest lessons you've learned from entering into sex parties, ethical non-monogamy?
All of that.
We'll just dive right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
My biggest lesson, I'll go first because I feel like mine are shorter.
Go for it.
My biggest lessons in like E&M, I would say, jealousy is a bitch to work through.
It is.
But you got to do it.
But you got to do it. Ego work is also really hard, like really fucking hard, but you have to do it. And it will really, I feel like opening yourself up to open relationships will really show you, where your insecurities lie, how you depend on your partner to feel safe and secure. And then also just really opens a door for learning how love is a infinite source. And the way that you can structure your relationships, whether platonic, romantic,
Casual,
what have
serious,
you. Yeah, however you want to structure them. There are just so many more ways to do it rather than black and white. And I think like that's the beauty in it, is you really get to,
negotiate.
Well, just like find out how you want to show up for a certain person or a certain energy. And then at the same time, like it's also all of that work in which you also have to show up for yourself, and you really have to learn how to communicate, how to really like have strong boundaries and all that jazz. And so yeah, it's tough work, but it's rewarding.
Yes, it's tough. And I'm in a more poly, open relationship. It's so much fucking communication. Like, it's like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this. Can we just like have some fun for a little bit?
I know,
Poly is
sometimes
hard.
Yeah, sometimes the communication gets like annoying.
Yeah.
How much of it is required? You're like, oh wow, another check-in. Okay, here we go again. Like it's. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I would say my lessons are very similar in the sense that like, working through jealousy, like ego work, how to show up for like yourself and other people. It feels like the like Olympics of relationships,
Yes.
What? I said it feels like the Olympics of relationships. Like you're really putting everything to the test. But I'm trying to think if any of my lessons really differ, because they're actually kind of all about the same. So I think
You were in it a lot longer, like you have been in it a lot longer than I have.
That's true. Because I had a marriage that was open for about 4 years, and then I've been doing it since my divorce as well. I think probably the biggest takeaway for me, or at least like what's been most helpful for me in my journey with like non-monogamy and everything, and it's kind of like what I've documented on the pod as well. Like the pod has been kind of like my like live journal that everyone gets to see, and I get to air out all my traumas. Anyways, but I would say that like it's shown me just how much I can change and adapt and ebb and flow, and like just in the same way that relationships can. So it's like just because something is working now doesn't mean that it has to stay that way if you figure out later it's not still working. Like, for example, like, you know, my marriage was monogamous and that worked while we were monogamous. And then when we went open, you know, we started off like monogamish and then we went more open and then we went more poly, and like all of those kind of came with like an ebb and a flow. And then there was even a point where like we were like open, but then like didn't really act on it for like a year, you know, because of like COVID and, you know, all this other stuff. So it's like, and then ever since my divorce, I was like so like gung-ho on like making sure that I remained like the way that I was, which was like open and poly at the time. But then I was like, no, I can go back to like, you know, maybe being more monogamish and like working on setting down some roots with someone and then opening up. Like, so it's like, it's shown me that like there can be an ebb and a flow. And just because you decide on something doesn't mean that's like what you have to stick with forever.
Yeah.
You know? So it's that, I think that has been a really valuable lesson.
I love that. Ride the wave.
Yes.
And honestly, the more I get more serious into different relationships, it's like you just don't know how it's going to develop.
Yeah.
You just don't know. So I try not to get too far in the future and being like, I don't know if I could do this forever.
Yeah.
Instead, just like, okay, I'm liking this for now. I'm open for it to shift and change the boundaries. But so far, it's been really nice being in the present. And I think that's one big takeaway for me is like really focusing on the present, because you don't know what's going to happen. Even people who get married. Yeah. We don't actually know if we're going to be with them forever. Sorry, people.
No, it's true. I mean, when I married my husband, I thought I was going to be with him forever. And then, you know, when that didn't happen, and now, you know, like it's really changed my perspective and like how I'm approaching relationships. And it sucks to like feel like you really have to surrender to the present and stop being so anxious about the future. But
I have such a hard time with that.
Yeah, but that's really what it forces you to do. Yeah.
It's scary. It's so fucking scary.
No, it is. Because my brain's always like, let's plan. Let's get this in plan. Once we have this and it's here and it stays and it's good, and then it's like nothing changes.
But no, it changes.
Yeah, but it does. Everything fucking changes all the fucking time. And I'm like, I'm tired of change. Like, can we just get one moment of just like...
Yeah.
That's one thing I struggled with in poly, is I feel like I had such a hard time staying in the present because my brain was always constantly trying to make sense of like how the future would look.
Yep. I mean, I wouldn't be in the relationship I am now if I was too worried about what's going to happen in a year.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I just love it now.
You really do have to slow down.
Ever since COVID, and, you know, and this could be because of COVID, but like I've realized I'm like, you really cannot plan more than like 6 months in advance. You have no idea what life is going to look like in 6 months. Don't even fucking bother trying. So just worry about the 2 weeks ahead. You know, if you book a trip to Europe in June, that's fine.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, don't get too ahead of yourself. Just focus on the present.
I love that. Okay. So what's new for you guys coming up? Like, what has expanded now that you've done a podcast and now you guys are so open and out there?
Well, I'll answer it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's interesting because like even with the pod, sometimes I'm like, well, what direction do I want to go? And like, you know, for example, like last season was more of like a healing season. We talked a lot about like how I healed after my divorce, how she healed after her, you know, the end of her engagement, things like that. And so, and it's like, it does document like the seasons of our lives, but you know, now it's funny because I was, like I said, I used to be so like gung-ho about like open and poly. Now I'm like, you know what? I think I kind of want something that starts off a little bit more monogamish. Yeah. And so it's kind of like documenting that shift. And so I'm approaching dating and relationships a lot more differently than I was a year ago. And so it's like, you know, bringing that onto the pod. I always say, I hope our fans don't like, you know, like, well, you were, you know, you
fuck are you?
Yeah, exactly. And so, but honestly, I think at the end of the day, they just want to see us happy, which is really nice because like the relationship that we've built with them. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning more towards. Yeah, is just, and I don't know, we'll see where it goes. I used to be very like anti-marriage after my marriage. Now I'm like, I could get married again. Do I need the piece of paper? No.
But things change.
Yeah, things change. We'll see. You know,
open.
Who knows what will happen when I, you know, meet someone that if I decide that that's the way I want to go. And then as far as the pod goes, I mean, just kind of keep continuing, you know, talking about our journeys and everything. I think we like the edutainment approach, which is
edutainment for sure.
Yeah. So we always, sometimes like when we kind of don't know which direction to go, we tend to kind of veer back towards that. Because obviously there's just so much to like learn and discover and like in kink and sexuality and non-monogamy, like there's just a lot to cover there.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would say, okay, wait. Going back to the original question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Going back to the original question. I mean, when it comes to the pod, I feel like with this season, like this coming season, we're more of like, we'll see what comes out of our mouths, because I feel like we both have been going through a lot of internal changes. I myself have been going through a lot of like internal changes for the past, I don't know, I want to say like 4 or 5 months. And these past few months especially, I've just kind of considered how like I talk so much about my life, specifically my sex life, on the pod. And sometimes that's gotten me in trouble, like in my own personal dating life. And it's just made me realize that, like, you know, sometimes I have to like take the approach where it's like, I can't give everyone everything all the time, because there's other people I have to consider and how it makes them feel. And so,
I'm curious, how do you manage that? Because I know I've listened to a couple episodes and you guys kind of just share and it's right away.
Yeah.
So people know who you're talking about. And I've done some and they know who they're talking about. I'll tell you in a minute. But like, how do you manage, I don't want to hurt their feelings, all those things?
I mean, typically...
I think that must be on like a... Like it might not be all the way down, and I can maybe lower it.
Well,
There we go.
I know I hit it.
No,
That's
that's
good.
okay.
Or you
We're
keep
good?
hitting it.
There?
There we go. That's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, and then it doesn't look like it's coming from...
I'll do a clap or something
From
so we
space.
know where to edit.
Yeah, your question was how do you manage...
Okay. Wait, are you gonna start? Also, fix your hair. Give it a little.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Sorry. Oh my God.
Okay. Let me do like a clap so I know where to edit.
Wait, am I good?
Oh,
Yeah,
no?
I just hate
Okay, well, lots of
I
claps.
just hate
It's okay.
these little cords. It just doesn't look as clean. Okay.
That's
Next time I will ask about having 3 at the Santa Monica.
Yeah, you can. Just put it
Sorry
in the
about
notes.
that.
Yeah, no worries. And then, is it cool if I take this out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Thank you.
I kind of wanted to eat another one, but
All right.
then it's gonna be like
Right there.
Wait, what was the question? How do you manage? Okay. I would say I have a few examples. So for the most part, like typically if I'm going to talk about someone on the podcast, like I get their consent. Hey, I'm going to talk about this story. Like, is it okay if I mention you? Obviously, most of the time, like I don't use people's names. I just abbreviate like C or, you know, K or whatever. So
or a code name we use.
yeah,
like the
exactly.
avocado
So it's
farmer.
like, you know, there's still that sort of ambiguity. But like, for example, we did an episode where we talked about clearly, we talked about how I fucked my neighbor. And obviously we said who that was.
Yeah.
And my neighbor was not happy about that.
Oh, you said his name?
No, I didn't say his name,
Oh.
but I just said neighbor. And I guess
It's just easy to kind of backtrack and like find the neighbor.
he didn't like that I talked about like, you know, the fact that we like hooked up. He was like, it just made it, he felt a certain way about it, and I completely understood.
It's a
And
little
I've
bit
had-
younger too.
Yeah, and I've had some moments in the past. I've had some moments in the past where it's like I had an ex, and sometimes I would talk about him in the pod, and he'd be like, I didn't like that you said this, but it's okay that you said this. So it was always like finding that happy medium of like what someone's okay with having been shared and what's not.
And also up to you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like at the end of the day, like, you know, I am just trying to.
you're sharing your experience.
Yeah,
and
I-
that was going to be my response. Is that like, you know, yes, I will keep it ambiguous or like, you know, anonymous, and yes, I will like ask for consent on about certain things, or like most of the time I will. Yes, there have been scenarios where like maybe I forgot to ask, but then I told them later like, hey, because I edit it, so I'm like, while I'm editing, I'm like, I mentioned this, is this cool, da, 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 or like whatever. Anyways, so I'm all about consent and, you know, and making it anonymous, whatnot, but at the same time, like, it is my experience. I want to talk about it from my perspective. I don't want to have to sit there and censor it and be like, they were great, when really
Yeah, that's what I sometimes wonder is like they're
Yeah.
not getting amped up. You're like maybe sharing your frustrations
Exactly.
or fears. And that's kind of why That's vulnerable.
No, it is vulnerable, but at the same time, I'm like that. If they listen to it and they have a problem with it, I'm going to be like, look, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
If anything, we should have a conversation about it. If we haven't already, likely we have. However, it's like it's my platform, it's my space that I've built to talk about my experiences. Yes, I will be mindful of like what you say, or if you want me to edit something out or whatever. But at the same time, like, don't tell me how to tell someone how I felt about something, because I will not oblige to that.
And then on the flip side of that is like how you talk about all these experiences, and then you get on a dating app and then someone finds your show and then they immediately have this perception of you.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Even just looking that I'm a pole dancer.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she has sex or everything. They're just like, she has sex a lot. She has a lot of partners. And I'm like, actually, yes, I go to play parties and I play more at play parties.
Yeah.
And they just assume that I just have lots of partners and I have lots of sex. And I'm like, I don't feel like I do. I have lots of great experiences, but not as many play partners as you think.
And that's one of the reasons why like I kind of got off the dating apps actually, was because of the podcast. I was like, my online presence is so different than my real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like my day-to-day life is you will get the stories of when I go to sex parties. You will get the snippets of, whenever I'm going through something or relationship or whatever, and I will talk about those things. But that does not mean that like it's
every day.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not just. I don't know, that,
We could go on forever on that.
no, it is.
Well, and I mean, for when it comes to like dating, for example, like that's another that I also got off the apps for kind of a similar reason. I feel like people always had like this assumption, and there had like I remember there was a guy that I dated. Well, it was like a situationship for like a year and a half, anyways. But I remember at one point, like halfway through our relationship, we had like this fight once where he was like, I just had this when we started seeing each other. I just had this like assumption that you had like 8 other dudes on your roster, and I was like one of 10, and I was like. I literally was like, my divorce started around the time that I met him. I was like, I was so depressed that like I wasn't sleeping with anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I was like, I had a few occasional things here and there, whatever, but like it was definitely not a roster full of men like that. And so, granted, maybe there should have been more communication, but like those misconceptions sometimes definitely like bleed in. And then that sucks because like, yeah, like she said, I mean, we talk about play parties, but like I'm not at a sex party every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been times where like there's a peak, there's more of them than normal, especially like sometimes in the summer you see quite a few of them, or like around some of the holidays. But then there are other times where like, it might be a month or two before you go to one again or more. So yeah, again, it goes back to there's an ebb and a flow.
Yep.
So
riding the wave. Don't
Yeah.
make assumptions. Maybe just ask questions.
Ask
And
questions.
that's the assumptions part is what kills me, because most of the time, like you tell someone like, oh, I just went to a sex party, and you could have just gone to that sex party, ate an edible and had cookies while you watched someone finger bang another person, and instead the person that sees that episode or whatever, they're like, oh, she got fucked by like 20 people, and then it's like, no, she was baked and.
That's actually the Halloween party. Were you there at that one?
Yes.
Yeah, I took an edible and ate cookies and didn't have sex with a single person.
Yeah, and I've just gone and just enjoyed and
Yeah.
watched and helped or performed, and I still had a great time.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the time I go to play parties, I play maybe 40% of the time.
Yeah.
The other times I'm just like chilling, I'm making connections, like
seeing
I'm
my
talking
friends,
to people. Yeah.
watching people.
So it depends. Yeah.
Okay, so that party was Halloween. It's one of my favorite. They do great events.
Yeah.
What did you guys? Okay, so that party was a Halloween party. We were told we have to wear a certain costume, and then all the girls had to wear red wigs. Okay,
Yeah.
so what did you feel about that and think about that when you were there?
I loved the
Okay.
wig. I thought I looked so hot. I wanted to buy a much nicer version of that wig to
Yeah.
wear on a more normal basis.
Yeah.
I liked that I didn't have to think about what I was going to wear because they kind of told you black lingerie and the red wig. So I was like, dope. 1, 2, done.
Yeah.
However, Cami and I are twins.
Yeah, and that was my tidbit. And I remember the hosts even asked us before they they really like released the whole theme. They were like,
Specifically, they're like, are you two going to be okay with the wigs?
because it directly affects y'all. And it's true, because I remember at one point very vividly, I'm walking around this sea of red wigs, and that's when people started playing, and I was like, Nicole! I'm like, where's Nicole? I need to know where Nicole is, because I need to make sure I don't run into her. And
We don't watch each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we avoid.
We'll avoid each other like
Well,
the
side
plague.
note, how the hell do you do that at smaller parties?
We usually, if
just
it's a
don't-
smaller party, either one of us doesn't attend, or like we try to make sure, because there has to be at least 40 people for us to attend together.
40 or 50 is what we
Yeah,
usually
40
say.
or 50
Yeah.
is usually our cap. Anything below that, it's like,
We won't attend together.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one party, I think, where there were like maybe 40 people, but it was 2 levels. So and the first level was no play at all.
Okay.
So it's like, if we just wanted to both chill there, like that.
We would just swap. Yeah.
No, but yeah, at that party with the red wigs, I was like, how am I going to find her? Thank God at one point we just lost the wigs. So
Oh, yeah.
I didn't. You did. But
oh,
I
you kept
didn't.
it on the whole night?
I kept it on the whole night.
Oh, you just loved it.
I loved it, and I was baked. Like, was that the one where I didn't do anything?
Yeah, that was...
Yeah.
you kept it on the whole time?
Yeah.
I took it off at one point.
No, I loved it. I'm actually gonna wear it tomorrow for Valentine's
Oh, fun. Okay, and how did you like it? That party?
I thought I had a blast at that
Yeah.
party. I'm not gonna lie. I had a great time. I did many firsts, and overall, it was a really great experience, and probably like my best like party to date for sure.
Ooh, okay, why?
So,
Let's hear it. Have any stories to share from that one?
well, so
Oh, tell the bounce house one.
Ooh, yeah.
okay, the bounce house was great. Oh God. It's the night started off with I was just like perusing around like I typically do, just like to see who's here, whatever. Nikki and I always, for those parties specifically, for those hosts, we like to do coat check, because like that's our way for us to like see everybody and call dibs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as everyone
wait,
comes in-
calling dibs.
Oh yeah.
God, I'm like so many tangents. My ADHD brain is
No,
like,
you're
wait,
fine.
how do you dib? What if you change your mind? Can you swap dibs?
No,
We have yet to do that. But
Okay.
basically what will happen is if one of us sees someone, we'll be like dibs. And the other person has to honor the dibs. Now, if one
Okay.
person just has gotten like 2 dibs in a row, the other person needs to consider that there has been 2
Yeah.
dibs honored in a row.
Okay.
So we'll kind of keep a score. But so
Or like
far-
the popular guys. Like sometimes I'm wondering, you know what I mean? There's some popular guys that like a lot of people.
Kimmy has accused me of taking all of them, which I disagree.
in this friend group, yeah, Nikki's taken most of them.
Oh, so I know.
I have a select bundle that I keep close, and then Nikki's gotten the rest.
I met all of them before you.
Oh,
What?
I met a lot of them before you.
No,
that's
that's
why.
right. You did.
but what if one of them vibes with the other?
No.
See, that's
That
what I'm
hasn't
saying.
happened.
And I think it's our instinct, because every
Okay.
single time that we've called dibs, we ended up like vibing with that person, and it being I'll give you an example for like with the neighbors. So it was 2 neighbors, and they both live across from us, and I thought this was so funny. She called dibs on one, I called dibs on the other. We each go and do our thing with them, and it works out great, in the beginning. Anyways, and I just remember one time I was hooking up with mine, and he was like, you know what's funny? And I was like, what? He was like, I call dibs on you, and he called dibs on her. And I was like, it's just that we just know. And
Yeah.
there have been instances too where, like, for example, there was a guy that I recently sort of started seeing, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, and I called dibs on him that night. And like, obviously, like him and I click very well. Like, I think if you two were together, like it would not, so it's like, I feel like we just know.
Yeah.
So it works. But yeah, at this party, we
Yeah.
do coat check so that we can call dibs
Okay.
on anyone who's coming in, and that makes it easier for us throughout the night.
But I remember there was
hilarious.
this one. There was one dude I specifically called dibs on, and then as I was perusing after code check was done and the party was getting started, I go into the bounce house, and they always put the fuzzy blankets down. I love it.
Yeah.
I always just laid down. I was having a little moment with myself. I was just like, I'm so thankful to be here. Thank you, universe. Blah blah blah. And then in walks that guy and this other guy. So it's these 2 dudes. One was, I don't know what it is with me and younger men lately, but one of them was 21 and the other one was 26. And they
Nice.
both I was laying down. They like walked over to me. They were like towering. They're like, can we play with you? I was like, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we had a little threesome in the bounce house, and it was like hot as fuck. They were like, And it was really nice because, like, at first they were like, can we touch you? Like, they were very, like, consent driven and, you know, very conscientious about, like, condoms and all that. So, like, for being such young guys, like, they were really great.
Sometimes I feel like the younger generation is better.
They're getting better for sure. I would
agree. Yeah.
I think we're teaching them better. So that's the goal. But yeah, so, and I just remember like at one point, like I just remember they were both talking about me as if like I just wasn't like present. Like they were just be like, oh my God.
They're just like having a good time.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh my God, she's so hot. Like blah, blah, like one of the guys was like, you should see like this angle, blah, blah, blah. And then be like, let's switch. And then
and you were just like doing your thing,
and I'm just there like, yeah, go for it. It's like just, or you know what? Actually, I was just like silent and mute, letting them go on because like the banter was hilarious.
Yeah,
but I freaking loved it.
I can't say.
Did you like that? You loved it?
I did. Yeah, I felt a little degrading and like I love that, but like in a way that the way that they did it was just like so, but it was respectful, you know. So, and I love degradation.
We like to be objectified.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I do.
Like I do. Sometimes I miss it. I'm like, can you objectify me a little bit?
Wait, you don't get it now?
I feel like right now, see, this is where I get a little nervous. I get a lot of love and I get a lot of connection and I get a lot of depth. And now I'm like, a few days ago, I was like, can you objectify me a little bit?
Yeah,
and just, I know you call me pretty and beautiful. And I'm like, can you just be like, I want to fuck you? Like,
yeah.
It's all about balance. It's all about balance. You need a little bit of both.
And you just, can I fuck that pussy? Like, please?
Exactly.
No, I want them both in the same sentence.
Yeah.
I want the care, the love, the respect, and the objectification and the degradation all in one go.
Yeah.
Give it to me in the same night. Like
I do too. Yes.
We had a guest that called it, what do you call it? Romantic whore.
Ooh,
and I was
romantic. I'm a romantic whore. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I thought that was such a cute term where it's like you know both like hot and degrading, but then it's also like it can also be like sensual and loving. Like it's a mix of the two energies. And I was like, I like that. I can get on board with that.
Yes. Oh, I have an example, and then this will open up like if you guys are into kink. So you
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to be open. So. Was it last night? The night before. I was on the bench and like tied up with the shackles or cute little black and white bands. And then with gold. And then I was getting like flogged and then paddled and then spanked with all these different things. And then he like comes up and he's like, I love you so much. And I'm like, ah! And then he like keeps spanking me. It's like pretty painful. And then he like fucks me and I'm like, oh my God. That is so that was
Dear
a fave.
universe.
Yeah, so okay, do you have any?
if you're listening,
Please.
I miss that I love you sex like that.
That's actually what we were talking about earlier this year is that like we had 2024 goals, you know, like sexual goals. Because, you know, everyone thinks like career goals and like day-to-day like goals. But I'm like, what about
Fucking
sex
goals.
goals? Yeah. And mine was to get fucked while eating chocolate cake and for one. And to like have sex with someone that like I like am in love with, that is in love with me. We say, you know, those kind of things during sex. Like I haven't had that in so long. I miss it a lot. But when it comes to kink, I actually haven't thought of any like kink goals.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to kink, I've always been into power play, like dom sub, degradation. I love impact play. So I love flogging. I love spanking. I like being a bottom for all those things or a submissive. But I actually do also enjoy being a top when it comes to impact play. Absolutely love those things. I don't,
On men or women?
yeah.
Both. Nice.
Both. Yep. But I recently, like, I haven't been in my subspace in so long. I'm very disconnected from it, but I have been, you know, during the chances that I do get to explore or, you know, reconnect with, like impact play or degradation or whatever. Like, I love those moments. I just haven't had them in a while.
Oh, call those in.
Are you submissive, dominant, switchy?
I'm switchy.
Switchy, okay.
Usually with my partner, I'm very submissive. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm also aggressive too. You know, I like to mix it up. I'm aggressive, not dominant wise though.
Okay,
Not
so more
in the
toppy,
bedroom.
toppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with I think I could be dominant with a different partner that I'm not maybe sexually attracted to. Like I've done it with somebody at a play party and he was a little bi.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed it. And that was a first experience. Like I was spanking him and I was loving it and he loved it. And then we like played a little bit, but we didn't fuck. And I wasn't like super wanting to have sex with him, but I was okay with playing with him.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
And like I probably wouldn't date him, but it was fun and he was hot.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, I don't like, I've definitely been in scenarios where like I like playing with someone, maybe not necessarily like sexually, like penetrative sex or like, you know, romantically or anything like that, but just for like in the moment, like physically playing. I think that can still be fun. And honestly, I think, you know, I don't know, so much of, you know, sex is like derived from like attraction to someone or like even just like physical touch, you know, is derived from attraction. But like there can be instances where like maybe that like romantic or sexual attraction isn't there, but like it's still like a fun, especially in an environment like an orgy or sex party. Like, it's still fun to like engage in some form of like play. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that brings up what are some, I guess, kinks and things that you've started exploring that maybe you never thought you would because you started going to play parties?
Monogamy.
Actually, so now this one didn't come from play part. Well, I'm trying to think from play parties.
Like maybe you were like, oh, I don't think I'd ever be down with that. But then you see it and you're like,
Recently,
DP.
I was going to say recently I had 2 women peg me.
ooh, yes,
with
I was there.
dildos. Yes.
Oh, you watched it?
I didn't see it, but I was told right after.
Oh, nice. It was a great time. I have started exploring with women more, and that was just like, and the 2 that I did it with, I mean, you know them.
Yeah.
They're super fun. They're
So
super,
hot.
super hot, and also just like, but also just so like nurturing and supportive after and during, and they always make me feel so like beautiful and cherished whenever I do play with them. So I did that and I was like, okay, I could definitely see myself doing it again. And getting fucked by a strap-on, I was like, it's definitely different. It's different than like a dick, like an actual one.
Yeah.
But it
Sometimes it's good though.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Because it's extra hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
so one girl had the one that was like more flimsy, and then the other girl had one that was like harder.
Okay.
I actually ended up liking the harder one, even though it was a little bit smaller. Like it was better just because the other one was a little flimsy at times. Okay. But it was good. It was good.
Okay. And you used to, I don't know how you identify now.
What?
Hetero flexible, straight, bisexual.
I still call myself hetero flexible just because I don't know that I fully connect with bisexual, because I feel like, you know, for the people that, you know, for the women that crave women like outside of play parties, like actual like one-on-one experiences, I think bisexual is the title for them.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm just hetero flexible in the sense of that, like, the parts are fun when they're in front of me.
Yeah.
So, and when they're not, like, I'm okay with that.
And this might give permission to people listening to just explore and have fun, and it doesn't make you have to be anything that you don't want to identify as. Like, you can just try it out, and it doesn't make you bisexual. And also, you could never have been with a woman or a man and call yourself bisexual.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is, you know, one of the biggest takeaways I had after the recent exploration that I've done with women is the fact that, like, you just because, like, for example, if you're a guy, just because you like sucking a dick doesn't mean you're bisexual or doesn't mean you're gay. You could just be a straight dude that likes a cock every now and then.
There you go.
It's just a part.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
Always brings me. I say this like on every podcast. I swear, when this comes up, there's this one guy that I used to see, and he was like the most like country looking, like manly, masculine, you know, dude. Would have never guessed that he would. Yeah, he was bi actually, but I remember he was just like dick in my mouth feels good sometimes. And he was like, doesn't change anything about like his like romantic attraction to women, because I don't think he never wanted to like date men or like had any romantic attraction towards them, but like liked hooking up with them. Actually, I don't know how he identified as, but anyways, you would have never guessed it. But for me, I identify as bisexual. And actually, I think play parties is where like I really started to like explore with women more. Before it was mainly just like in like, you know, foursomes or, you know, threesomes. But it was always like, you know, especially like in a foursome, you're just kind of like swapping. So you're not like always like really playing like with the other like girl. Whereas like at play parties, I think I kind of started having a little bit more freedom to like explore like with women. And then that brought me to more like one-on-one experiences with women. But to your original question, for me, it was DP.
Okay.
I saw it for the first time at a play party, and I just remember I was like, oh my God. And it was like 2 big dudes. And I was like, damn, girl, she was tiny. I didn't know how she fit.
I know. Sometimes you look at those little girls
you look
and
at it and you're like, how does that work?
Logistics don't add up.
Yeah. It was,
wait. Oh, nice.
yeah. And she's tiny.
She's little.
And like she takes 2 cocks like a fucking champ. And anyways, I shouldn't say that. You guys like beep that out if you make the point. Anyways, so I saw her do it and I was like, I want to try that. I didn't try it from when I saw it at a play party and decided I wanted to try it to when I actually tried it was a span of 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just have that desire and fantasy and it might not happen.
But the thing is for those 2 years, I was like always like kind of like thinking and manifesting and like wanting to like try it out. And there would be times where like I went to a party and I was like, I'm going to get DP today. And I never did.
Yeah.
And then finally, were you at the prom themed party?
No, wasn't that.
No. Okay. At that party last year is when I tried it for the very first time. And the only reason it even happened was because the host of the other party. Yes. And his best friend.
I don't know which one that is, but. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Anyways, I was laying with both of them and they were, and one of them looks at me, he goes, hey, you've wanted to get DP'd. Why don't we just go try it? And that night I was not planning on playing. I was like just having my little like social hour with everyone. I wanted to go get tied up in shibari and call it a night.
Yeah.
I was like not expecting play at all. And then they were like, let's just go try it. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And they're like, come on, we can just, there's no one in this other room. Because I hadn't done anal in so long that I was like really worried about doing anal.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, I can't even remember the last time my dick was up my ass. So finally, they were like, just come on, let's just give it a try. If you decide halfway through you're done with it, whatever. I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just do it. I had the best time.
Yeah.
It was so fun. I remember like I was trying to get both of them like ready to go, and then my friend walks in and she was like, what are you guys doing? And the guys were like, we're gonna DP her. And she was like, oh my God, I'm gonna help. So she came and helped me get them both like, nice and hard.
fluffer.
A true fluffer.
Yay.
Yep. And then like, one of them laid down, I sat on top of him, and then the other one went in my ass, and then we were all like going at it, and like they had really fun banter because they're like best friends, and they've known each other for decades, and it was just like such a great experience. And I just remember like I walked out that night feeling like $1,000,000 because I was like, it was so unexpected, it was so serendipitous. I loved the 2 people that it was with because like I've known those men since I've started going to play parties, and they're just great guys. And yeah, I just, it was a fun, like full circle moment where it was like, especially since those were the 2 guys that like I met at the first party I ever went to. So yeah, it was great.
What was maybe your first thoughts about DP versus when it actually happened?
Have you ever done it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious to see if you think the same.
Okay.
I thought I was just going to feel super full and overwhelmed, and like that was going to be the extent of it. When they were both actually inside of me, I was like, oh no, this is actually really arousing, and I could come. But there was just so much going on that like I didn't. And on top of that, like I really hated the lube that they had available there at that party, and I forgot my own lube because I wasn't planning on playing, and I should have brought my own lube because I always bring my own lube. Anyways, so... But I remember like in it, I was like, oh, I could definitely like climax from this. So I was surprised at how arousing it was, if anything. But I still felt overwhelmed and like very like full, but it was very arousing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just notes to the audience, it's very nice if you have someone that you trust and that you can open and surrender to.
Yeah.
Because I remember my first time, it was a lot. I was just like, whoa. They were also both huge.
Yeah.
So I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, it is overwhelming.
But then we did it with the same people again and again. And it was more like sexy and I was able to get into it and like lube helps and getting super horny ahead of time, feeling safe. And I haven't done it in a while actually. So now I'm like, I kind of want to.
I haven't done it since
Do I
that
need to
party.
do it?
Yes.
I'm like,
I mean, it's like a different feeling of like submission.
Yeah.
It's like it takes over your whole mind, body from head to toe. Like, ooh,
I would love to try it again with someone in my mouth.
yeah. So through
Yeah.
that sounds
What's
nice.
that called? Getting plugged? Or
No,
something?
airtight.
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 so-
That's not even that hot of a name. Triple play, triple dominated. I don't know.
I mean,
I have
you
to think
are
on another
airtight.
name. But I was actually thinking about it when I was talking about it just now. I was like, I haven't done it since then, and I would love to do it again.
Yeah.
So I just get really picky about who goes in my ass.
I would too.
You too?
Oh, yeah. I hadn't had anal in over a year and a half since my ex until recently. And I'm happy about it.
I
But
haven't had it in a really. Actually, I'm pretty sure the last time it happened was when I did DP, which was like
I
almost
think I
a
did
year
anal
ago.
2 months ago.
Really?
yeah.
Oh. But yeah, that's one of those. It's very vulnerable, so it's like good to do it with someone that you like actually like trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's vulnerable on so many different levels.
I took 9 years off of anal. So like from the first few times I did it until the most recent time, it was 9 years.
Wow.
And
Why is that?
Just because the first time I did it was fine. Second time had a little bit of trauma. Third time had a little bit of trauma.
Wait, so you've only done it 3 times?
Well, those were just at the beginning. And then 9
Okay.
years. And then I did it again. But it took that long to like,
Oh, shit.
it took that long to get through that trauma.
Well, so
So-
you didn't do it more than 4 times?
No,
Or you,
since
same people?
different. Since I started back up, when was it? I had anal last year. I've probably done it maybe like 5 or 6 times.
Okay. I was like, just 4 times and then 9 years and then 1 time? I'm like, damn.
No, yeah, it was about 3 to 4 times, 9 years, and then so I really only had anal
Yeah.
like 10 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So mine was like, opened up that Pandora's box and then it was like, it was my ex and I did it with his 2 close friends. So they were his best friends. And so I was able to like,
Was this an open relationship or it was
no,
like
it was just me and him, just him and I. But then like, I was the friend that was more open and like,
that.
luckily he's not a social media presence at all. So people don't know. And if they know, they know.
Yeah.
But like, it was great because I got to do it a lot and feel safe. And it was always the same people.
That's
Love
nice.
that.
Yeah.
So he didn't mind sharing with the homies.
Just the homies. That's it. He didn't want to share with anybody else. He was very picky. Yeah.
I love dudes that are like that, where they're like, they'll share with their homies, because that just goes to show that those guys within themselves have like a strong enough bond where like they trust each other. And I feel like at the end of the day, like they're going to have everyone's best interest in mind. So
Wait, actually, can we talk about this though?
Yeah.
Because I'm actually very curious. Okay, because and maybe it's just very person to person, but for example, like when my ex and I were open, we were always like no friends, and we had like our vanilla friends that we like, would never like do anything with, and like that's totally fine. But then like I think about, granted, these are friends that I have like in the non-monogamy space, but like one of my best friends, her and I would like have threesomes with her dudes all the time. And then there was one of my guys that her and I had threesomes with, but like she was someone that like I felt very safe with, like if with any partner, like I would be, cool, like bringing her in. And so, and it like, you're right. It's because I trust her. And like for me, like sharing like my partners with her was just like easy because like of the trust that was there and like the relationship that her and I had. Whereas like, sometimes if it's a complete stranger, then it's not as like safe. And so, but then so many people are like, but you don't want to like, mix in your friends. I think it really just comes down, it depends on the friend, right?
and the friend group.
Yeah, in the friend group.
I like bringing my friends. That relationship, he's fucked like most of my friends.
Really? Okay.
And I liked sharing him because he was a big guy, and
Nice,
I
it's
liked
fun, yeah.
sharing, and it was fun. And
I guess at the end of the day,
I
it just
think
depends.
it does end up, depending on the dynamic because
And
like
how safe they make you feel.
yeah, because there are some like I knew this one guy that I like went on one date with or something like that. I remember he was like super curious about the pod at the time, and he was like, it's so interesting that you talk about this. He's like, I don't know that I could ever do non-monogamy. He's like, but one of my close friends shares his wife with all of us, like with his friends. So like they all share her sexually every now and then or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great. Like
That
that
is
sounds like a
non-monogamy.
really dope time.
Yeah.
And it's like, with some people I could see myself like sharing, but then like with some people, like I would not want that,
Oh, for sure.
So it's like, it really just depends on the dynamic and the person because it does come down to a lot of different factors. So
yeah.
I know. I'm trying to think. I'm like, what other factors come into it? Ego, probably.
yeah.
Also, the way the man is.
Yeah.
Like my ex was he just fucked. Like he didn't look like he was like connecting emotionally
in
and
love
deeply
with every single
with
one.
my
Yeah,
friends.
yeah,
Whereas like my partner now connects and he gets very deep and like it's a little bit different feelings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
No, exactly. And also like how safe do they make you feel? Because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's like you do kind of want that certain safety if you're, sharing the goods
Yeah.
with other people.
But I think, I mean, especially in non-monogamy, like safety is such a big factor because like my ex-husband made me feel so safe that like it made me really like open up so much more because I was like, oh, at the end of the day, like I can trust you. And I know that like, you're still going to show up for me. Like we're going to have honest conversations, all of that. Whereas like with a lot of my newer partners, I think sometimes like they see like what I've talked about in the past or like how I've been in the past and they think that like I'm still going to be that way. And I'm like, no, because we haven't established that safety. Like I'm not going to give you those same like privileges or those same like kind of like openness until I feel as safe as I did like with my ex, for example.
Yeah.
So I think
I always
that's a
feel
huge
bad
factor.
when I start like dating someone new because like they don't know how chill I can actually be when they establish safety with me.
Yeah.
Before that, I'm batshit insane, anxious
that
attachment.
Okay, how do we develop the safety? Give some tips,
Well, I
guys.
think-
Listen, women.
I think at the end of the
I've got a
day,
ton.
it comes down to, great communication. And for some people, like and I get it. Like at the end of the day, we should all be like our own internal systems and love ourselves before we love anyone else. Got it. But at the end of the day, like sometimes we need that reassurance. We need the reassurance. We need a little bit of that validation. I need to hear
and see
that what you are saying and what you mean is there, like, and it's true because like when I believe it, then I'm good. Like I'm way more relaxed. I remember, when I was in my, relationship with my ex-fiance, like he made me feel safe and I was just so relaxed and so like, not anxious, not attached. And, we could have the open conversations of like, oh yeah, do you want to explore a threesome, blah, blah, blah. And then, he and I broke up. I got into a relationship after that. And I was like trying to be like that chill, relaxed girl.
Yeah.
But the guy and I had just started dating. We had not established any sort of safety. And all of a sudden, like my anxious attachment just ramped the hell up. And I was like, who is this? This is not who I was in the last relationship. And it was because I didn't have that safety there. But at the end of the day, like have that communication. Tell your partner, I don't even
need
I was
some
going to say, it's just
validation.
so many different
I
things.
mean, to take what you were saying a step further, like that's what I wanted to give examples of is like what things that you can actually like do and
yeah,
say.
you pick up.
Yeah, I know. I saw
The
you.
literal.
No, I see when Camilla's brain starts going, and I'm like, okay, I know where she needs me to pick up and actually give an
I love
example.
this.
Anyways,
Well, because a lot of the times, like my
Here's
squirrel brain,
ideas.
my squirrel brain, it's like all the ideas are there. It's like, which one do we want to pick? It's like the 7 of Cups. Anyways,
Yeah.
keep going.
Anyways, so for example, say, you guys are in an open relationship, your dude is out with his friends, whatever. You guys have the rules that like, okay, if he wants to make out with someone, he can, or if he wants to take someone home, he can, but like, whatever you guys have established, whatever. Like sometimes it can be like something as simple as like to establish a safety, like texting your partner, hey, there's someone I'm having kind of a connection with. I'll let you know how it goes. Just hope you're having a great night. I care about you. I love you. Whatever you're saying. I'll talk to you in a bit. Or like, so it's like give them some reassurance that like you're going to be in communication, you're going to like adhere to your rules or whatever, and you're going to pay attention to their needs. And then also like, you know, you go off and do your own thing, whatever, as soon as you send that message or whatever. Things like that can go a really long ways. Like, you know, and that's, you know, or at least like another way for me that always worked is like just knowing that someone is going to show up when an argument arises from something that like maybe, you know, okay, say they went home with someone and, you know, they forgot to use a condom. You guys have a rules to use a condom. You're too drunk, blah, 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 blah. Maybe that's a big boundary cross. Knowing that they're going to come to you the next day and be like, hey, I am so sorry. I made a huge mistake. This happened. We didn't use a condom. I'm going to go get tested and, you know, just letting you know. And then we can resume our normal activities as soon as that's done. It won't happen again, blah, blah, blah. Things like that shows like, hey, I'm going to be willing to be vulnerable, to be honest, even when it's not the right or the easy thing, I should say, to say, or, you know, like I'm going to show up when there's an argument, like, and then, you know, yeah, your partner gets mad at you for, you know, forgetting to put the condom on because you were drunk and now, you know, you had unprotected sex with a stranger and they're upset. Validate their feelings. You are absolutely right for being upset at this. I am so sorry. I made a mistake. Hopefully they'll also give you some grace because mistakes do happen, blah, blah, blah. But it's like in those moments when like you're willing to show each other that like no matter what, you're going to be there, you establish that safety. And from that safety breeds an environment where you trust the person to like know that they're going to take care of you. They're going to take care of like the dynamic, the relationship and everything as you move forward.
Yeah, I would take that a step further and say one of the biggest ways for me to, for someone to establish safety with me is if we start an argument, they don't leave. They work through it with me. If you get in the mud with me and figure this shit out, I know that I can and like do it every time. And I'm not saying like start a fight, you know, to see if they stay. No, but if an argument arises, like if they're not willing to stay with you, what does that mean?
Yeah. Some things I've had to learn in that type of thing is like if I start getting triggered, sometimes I have to sit, like go in a different room and like calm down and then come back or like feel my feelings and not talk in that like anxious
Well, I think everyone's different because I've realized over the years, like I'm the kind of person that as soon as a problem arises, I want to fix it right then and there.
Yeah, see, I can't do that. And that's something that I've had to learn with my partners. And like, I can't do this on the way to fucking dinner.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like, you know, I've had partners before where it's like the exact opposite. They want a little bit of time off and then we'll talk about it later. And I'm like, okay, where's the happy medium?
Yeah.
We're going to discuss a little bit now. We're going to take, you know, maybe an hour or two break or maybe a day break, not talk. And then we're going to reconvene and talk about it again. So it's like, it's always about like finding that balance of like, how do you need to fix a problem? How do they need to fix a problem? And does that add up? And if not, how are you going to compromise?
Yeah. And that's been also one of the like greatest things about non-monogamy is that like it's given me so much experience dealing with so many different people's methods of dealing with shit.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Because you learn so many people. I mean, like when you're married to one person, you know, that you learn them and that's great. And then that's, you know, that's what you know. But like when you have to like be like malleable with like 3, 4, 5 different people, however many, like even if it's just casual relationships, because let's face it, if someone's going inside of you, chances are like at some point you're going to have a conversation where like things are a little uncomfy. So it's like, you know, you learn that like everyone's got different methods and like what you were saying about, you know, how some people need space and like I like to attack things head on and like in one of my more recent connections, it's a very similar situation. I'm someone that I'm like, okay, let's talk about this now. And they're like, I need a few days. And in those instances, like, you know, what would really help me is if they can be like, you know what, I'm going to give you a call on it Tuesday. We're going to talk about it then. Until then, let's just take some time to breathe and, you know, go have our respective fun weekends, whatever. And so it's like sometimes establishing safety can be something as simple as like giving someone like a plan of attack or at least like a point of like reconvening to like deal with something. And that way they know like, okay, I have my reassurance. I have like we have our set little plan. Let me just chill the fuck out until then, and then we can get back to it. So
I like that. I'm going to take note and put a time like, okay, when we get home from dinner, I will open this back up or you can open this back up. Yeah. That's something that I'll start doing. Yeah. Okay.
I think it can be super helpful because, sometimes, you know, the way that you want to attack things is different. And so it's like come up with a plan.
I love that. Okay. We're going to end with some fun things. So, what is a fantasy that you have not yet explored that you really want to? And it could be very specific. It could be not.
I have 2.
Okay, let's hear it. Take turns. Yes.
And they're actually kind of in a similar realm,
Okay.
so to speak. One of my biggest fantasies, and I always say this for like when I get married again someday, if I get married again someday, or like have some sort of that, I would love it if like, you know, I'm the bride, I've got my groom, we're celebrating our marriage, yeah, whatever. Anyways, and there's just this giant orgy, sex party, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, and have it where what? It's like, this is your dream. This is always in my dream.
1,000 times.
I know, but it's just one of like my biggest fantasies. I want my dude, the groom, whatever, to like lay down, and I want all the women in the room to like just take turns sitting on his face, sitting on his cock while I'm on the opposite, whatever it is. And so like have like a reverse gangbang with him. And then obviously in the end he finishes with me, and then switch it. I'm laying there, whatever. And all the dudes in the room come and run a train on me while my dude, and then switch, whatever. And so it's like a gangbang and a reverse gangbang at my wedding orgy.
Okay, I want to be invited.
100%.
This is so fun.
But that's like every single time I picture my next marriage, I'm like, that's.
And then you could have the cake. The chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, end it with a cake.
Yes.
I am so excited.
Wait, what's the second
Combines
one?
both fantasies.
Those were the 2.
Yeah.
So I guess they happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Someone could even be feeding cake.
Someone could even be feeding me the cake.
Exactly. While you're getting
Wait, my husband could be feeding me the cake while I'm like sucking his cock.
and putting it on your
And
boobs.
some guys railing me from behind. I love it.
Oh,
100%.
this is great.
That's my fantasy.
I am excited about this.
Thank you.
I want to see it through.
I would just, dear universe, throwing this out
Call it
there.
in. Okay, let's hear yours.
Okay. Oh man, I'm kind of struggling with this right now. I'm not gonna lie, because for example, like one of my fantasies I got to fulfill recently, like getting tag teamed. That happened at that party in October. Or having the 2 women, you know, fuck me with dildos.
Yeah.
Like that was also a fantasy.
Ooh, that's a new one for me.
So now I'm like, well, shit, what am I fantasizing about recently? I think I would love to, and this is something that like I wanted to make happen at a party, but it never did. I would love to do some sort of gangbang at some point.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun. And I would like to try DP, I think, as well.
Oh, you
Yes.
100% should.
No, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
You could even start just playing with like a big butt plug. Like, have you tried that?
I used to do that to myself.
Yeah.
Butt plug, dildo, vibrator on the clit.
Because
Great
then you
combo.
kind of feel what it would feel like.
Yeah.
Have you tried that already?
My butt plugs are tiny.
Okay, so maybe amping up the butt pluggery.
Okay.
Because then you'll be like, oh, yeah. And then you'll be a little bit more ready for it. Kind of going from what? Those little like diamond cute little ones to like a penis could be a big deal.
Okay. And then besides that, like I mean, a fantasy of mine is like, especially for like a dude that I really love, like I would love to give, you know, them like an awesome like threesome experience with another chick, because I do love threesomes with girls and another guy. Like it's a lot of fun, and I've had them at play parties, but I've never had one just like one-on-one or two-on-one, whatever, intimately. So I feel like I would like to try that at some point.
Yeah, it's very different.
It's
I think it's more fun because it's more connection. It's more play.
Yeah.
It's more feelings.
Yeah.
Where I feel like at the play parties, especially if you do like an MFM or an MMF. I think I said that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like bing, bang, boom, do, do, do. It's not as much like feeling and connecting. Like I feel like that kind of goes out the door a little bit.
It does, because there's not as much like talk and it's just more like, hey, you're here, like, you know, and then you all get together and then you do it and then it dismantles and then you're done. Wait, what about you? What are your fantasies?
Okay, so I just did a skirt club Galentine's, and we all went around the table and shared different fantasies, and we just went around like 3 times. So like all these women's fantasies were shared, and they were very specific and very intricate, and like So now I have some. So I want I want a big bathtub. Like it should be as big as this rug or
Okay.
like a hot tub size. But I want it all women. And we're going to have like tons of tequila. We're going to have limes. We're going to have a galaxy light. It's going to be like a party in a bathroom, but all women. And then we're just going to be like playing and fondling and bubbles and fucking and slippery and toys everywhere. And I'm just like,
Invite me.
yes. Okay, so let's make it happen. And then we'll have like some photo shoots like beforehand, like doing sexy pics with our heels up. Yeah, like bubbles erotically placed, kissing. And I'm just like, we get
love
all
that.
of it.
That is a
And
very
then-
specific fantasy.
That's
I
great.
love that.
That's
yeah.
great.
Lipstick, red
Yeah.
lips, just like all the ambiance. And then bubbles. And I just want like tequila like pouring down my body.
I love this.
Body shots.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That bath water's gonna turn a little.
Yeah, it'll be maybe pink bath water.
Oh, absolutely.
There we go.
Adorable.
Make it like
Yeah.
a milky pink.
Yeah,
But see, that's what I love about like hearing other people's fantasies. Then it gives you like
It gives
something.
me ideas,
It
yeah.
gives you
Yeah.
ideas.
That's
what
like 15 shared, and I was like, oh, I do have fantasies.
Like I remember one time I was telling a guy about the wedding one, and this was like kind of in a group setting, and I just remember one of the guys turned to his wife and he was like, "Why did we do that at our wedding?"
Yes.
And he was like, "We gotta get married again." And I was like, "Just do like a 10-year, like or an anniversary orgy, like something like that."
Yes, consummate the 10-year or 5-year.
Yeah,
Ooh,
5-year, 2-year, whatever.
That'd be fun.
Maybe I need to get more creative again.
Yeah, just add like different things that you enjoy, like even the coloring, or like I like tequila.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
add your different things that might like excite you, and then add them all together.
Yeah.
I know, that's why with the chocolate cake, I'm like, if it
Yeah.
was like my wedding cake with my husband and then all these other dudes
so
fucking me,
dope.
I think I'd be in
Yeah.
heaven.
Okay, now to kind of wrap it up, I'm not sure where we're at, but what has been one of your favorite paid play parties? Because I know you've been to like Sanctum,
house parties,
Kinky
yeah.
Rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like what's one of your favorites? Like best ever. It could even be in a different state. It doesn't have to be here.
Kinky Rabbit, I think for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say one of the best play parties that I went to was actually the first one that I performed for Sanctum.
Wait, what did you perform?
That was like years ago. I want to say it was 2 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
But I got to perform at this play party, and I felt so like, basically I had a female dom but a male sub.
Ooh.
So, and I got tied up in shibari. I was in this like beautiful outfit. I had the sub like on a leash the whole time. He was so cute, and he was just following me around. He like bathed me, blah blah blah. And like that was a play party where like I got to, perform in a way that like actualized a fantasy for me. So that was a lot of fun. But I would say Kinky Rabbit definitely is like one of the better.
I think for bang for your buck, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, especially for women, because I mean, I went many years ago, so it was a little
Yeah.
bit different dynamic, but I didn't think I ever paid. I think I
Kinky
paid for
Rabbit
one.
always like they choose some really dope houses.
Production.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Production
production
value
is
is
mind blowing.
great.
You're just like, whoa.
Alina has such a creative flair when it comes to like the performances, which I think are great. I think
But even just the stuff, like the
Yeah.
dildo seesaw one time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
Ooh.
ever tried a dildo
Oh.
seesaw. Yeah.
I want
hot.
to try.
I want to say my favorite Kinky Rabbit play party was actually it was at a very famous person's house. And at one point,
I remember.
I was in the backyard fucking the bartender.
Oh my God. Wait, is that against the rules?
I literally just saw him at the gym like 2 days ago, and I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
"Oh my God!" He made eye contact with me, but I don't think he noticed who I was.
Yeah.
But
funny.
it was that party was so fun, the great crowd, and I was vibing so hard with the bartender, and then he and I fucked on
I love it.
the patio overlooking the Hollywood Hills.
And I was
I
on the
love
other
that.
side of the yard yelling, "Camilla, hurry the fuck up!" because I wanted to go home.
Nikki wanted to go home.
That's
was
funny. You
so
guys tend to be opposites.
Honestly, that it really is though. One of us will be like,
yeah, the
and
last
other's like,
party she stayed, and I was like, I'm dipping,
and I had a
So-
great time.
No, I had a great time at that party too. I did. I loved it. It's just I'm in a little situationship that's a little complicated.
talked about that for a little bit.
and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go because I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, that's a different story for another day.
Okay, and yours, same thing, or
Yeah, Kinky Rabbit.
Okay.
I think like for anyone that's like looking to like go to play parties and
it's a little bit more of a strict getting into it, but
but
especially men.
I just like if you're especially like if you're in an area where like you don't have a lot of access to play parties and like it's really something you want to experience, like come to LA, make a little weekend out of it. You have to apply to Kinky Rabbit, get accepted and everything. They'll let you know like a month in advance. Come out. It is a little pricey for couples, but I think like if you want to have that experience and like this is your opportunity to have that experience, that one's worth it for the money.
Yeah. I loved the production and just the sex appeal and watching and the show, the production alone.
Yeah.
Like the Halloween ones, I went to 2 of those. Those were epic.
Those are the ones I avoid.
They were intense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
okay.
she goes all out.
Yeah,
That's why I avoid those.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah.
I walked in, there's like nooses, and then there's a woman on a chair tied up with something, with a candle wax dripping on her head with a helmet, and then she's getting a vibrator to her pussy, and then she's also getting like pain tantalized on her body. And you're just like, that was like 6 years ago-ish for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really entertaining. And
Yeah.
I actually didn't have sex with any men at those parties, only women. So, yeah. The play was the first one I played with men. And I actually think you might like that because I like it because I get to perform. So if you perform, it makes it fun to like be the performer and like fulfill your fantasy in front of others as a performer and then play. And I've built a lot of friendships, and that's actually where I met a couple of my partners and my one now. So
Oh, really?
I like performing. I think it's fun. I usually when I perform, it's more for like ambiance performing rather than like sexual performances.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it because you definitely see the party from like the flip side, and it's more. And it's for me, I don't know. It's when there's that barrier because like at the same time you can't play with the guests, you can only play with other performers. I don't know. It added this extra like layer of. I don't even know what the word is, like demure. I don't know. Like it just felt more like, like I couldn't do it and it was like fun that I couldn't. I don't know.
I like
Hard to
that.
explain, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you guys would like to share at the end of this episode? Anything juicy or a tip? Anything like that?
Oh, nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, I would say, especially for anyone that's like new to like NM or kink, take your time with it.
Yeah.
And if you take your time with it and like you said, remain present, you will only find amazing experiences.
Yeah.
You won't go through like all the shitty bad apples. So
And I mean, like, it kind of reminds me of my DP experience, Like, it took me 2 years to actually make that fantasy come to life, but when it did, it felt right. It went well. It was good. Like, it was nice that I actually, like, kind of took a very slow approach to it because I feel like in the end it made for a much better experience rather than, like, forcing it. So I'm glad it aligned the way that it did. And so, yeah, I think... maybe that's when it comes to like relationships and non-monogamy and sex and kink, it's just like embracing the ebb and the flow.
Yeah. Okay, last thing. We'll try and have a short answer, but have you ever left a play party feeling like empty or that you didn't feel good afterwards? No? Okay, I have once. But
Really? I'm sorry to hear
yeah,
that.
it was like, I went a little too wild. I went a little bit too... I'm pretty demisexual, so I like to have like a connection. And I was like, you know what? I'm going into this being like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do it, have fun. And then at the end, I was like, oh, like, I didn't really like that. And I actually ended up calling my partner now in the morning. Okay, there's a little bit to this. So the guy I went with, super hot guy. He was attractive, great cock. All the things. I hooked up with more men than I usually do. And then he left in the morning from the hotel. He left me in the hotel room.
Oh.
And so I was like, no aftercare.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, I don't ever want to do that again. And then I ended up calling him my partner. And we were very casual. And we were just like spontaneous friends. And then I was like, hey, like, what are you up to? And then he had me come over. and then like got all the love, all the aftercare, and I was like, okay, I really needed that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, sometimes you know, especially like when you go to these play parties, and if you go solo, like if you don't have like an established partner, you do realize that you do need some form of aftercare after. Just because like all that energy intake and also the energy like depletion can really feel like out of whack if you don't take care of yourself after. So, because it's also an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
learn your aftercare, have a massage the next day, do a bubble bath, figure that out, maybe
whatever
hang
you
with
need.
friends.
Yeah.
What?
I said whatever you need. Yeah,
Yes,
just,
whatever
like,
you
figure it
need.
out, yeah.
Have a cake.
Cake.
Yeah. I usually like to like wrap up in like a fuzzy blanket.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, go check out their podcast, Double Team Podcast. What's your Instagram?
We have 2. It's at Double Teen Podcast and at Cami and Niki with 1K.
Yep.
Awesome.
So you can find us there. We're also on TikTok. We've got a website, doubleteenpodcast.com. And
All relevant links are there.
And then, we're pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're great
Yay.
host. Appreciate it.